Take an honest look at yourself. Do you, dear viewer, who may be struggling with problems related to addiction or alcohol or substance misuse, do you want to be shit-faced all the time? Or is there some other reason you might be doing that? I know all of us love a little escapism. You know, most Americans probably have a drink here or there come the holidays, maybe more than a few, maybe a little bit in excess during that time of the year. That's okay too. But a lot of Americans like to have a drink here or there to unwind from a hard day at work or for a special occasion, an event, and so on. But there are people out there who well exceed that dynamic that I just laid out. They fly all the way off into something totally different. And for those people, I gotta ask, are you happy indulging not just every day, but way, way more than a little bit in amounts that have so far exceeded the realm of normalcy that you basically don't feel like you're there anymore? This is what I tend to see in a lot of people who are addicted. It isn't just that they use a drug. That in itself is not inherently bad, even if you're using different drugs every day. In fact, I would argue that's probably better because you're not gaining too much tolerance to one, and you're also not spending your whole day whacked out. I think a good example of this is someone who smokes a little bit of weed at bedtime some nights, and most days they have caffeine, and they might drink a little on the side too. Most of their time is not being occupied by their use. Most of their time is being occupied by their responsibilities. And I think this same dynamic I laid out can just as well apply to a bunch of other drugs, some of which are semi-legal, many of which are not legal at all. But some of those also happen to be less addictive than one of the substances I brought up, which is alcohol. And so it's a peculiar situation. You know, you're always going to have people who basically need to stay away from everything, because if they don't, they're going to fall right back down that rabbit hole, like faster than a railroad jackrabbit. It's going to be bad. But then you have people who are sort of capable of moderating their use. Maybe they make some dumb mistakes here or there, but it's an escape for them, an occasional one. I think the people who are running from something are the people who really need to ask themselves, is this helping me or is this hindering me? And I think 9.9 times out of 10, it's hindering them. Now, whether or not they're going to answer that question honestly, as in the answer that conforms to reality most accurately, is something else to be said. But eventually they will inevitably come around to the fact that living in such excess is not enjoyable. It's just barely surviving. And it's at that point that you want to take a step back and begin to address all of the issues that henceforth you've been running from. This isn't a video against fun, nor is it a video against excess of certain types, but it is a video against ignoring one's problems and radically devolving into escapism. This kind of escapism could just as well apply to video games, or perhaps reading 16, 17 hours a day until you go to sleep. There are all kinds of ways that we can put ourselves into a hole, digging it deeper, and then seem like we're not going to get out of it. All the while, everything above that hole continues to fester and grow and worsen, and we're not doing anything to address those things. If anything, the escapism will make it worse, because the longer those things go unaddressed, the worse they're going to get. And when you come out trying to finally face them without any of those coping mechanisms, it's going to be harder than when you started. Because when you started, it was just a little escapism. That wasn't your whole world. When you made it your world, the actual world becomes a lot more difficult to deal with. But you have to deal with it at some point or another. So why not start right now?